G'day guys, Luke here. Welcome back to another video. In today's video guys, we're here back again at Camo's Reptiles doing another film shoot. Today we're going to look at furniture for our little scouty friends. We'll start from the base and we'll work our way around the enclosure and figure out what kind of furniture your scouty friend at home needs. Starting with the base, we'll start with the substrate, of course. Now here at Camo's Reptiles, Andrew uses sand for the majority of his enclosures. I know some of you might go, why are you using sand for? Of course it's in packages, rada, or on the keyboard. Hear me out. The sand that Andrew uses here is a very fine grain sand. It's almost like I would say it's like a powder, but the grain is quite small. So if there's a chance of the animal accidentally ingesting some, it'll pass through. As well, we use food dishes to feed our animals, so we don't chuck this food on the ground and that lizards eat from the ground. So with the sand, guys, we kind of use it on more of our desert species. So we use it on bearded dragons, we use it on the goannas, and a few other bits and pieces in the garage there. I won't go through the whole list because it'll be all day. The next substrate that we kind of use from time to time as well will be your coconut fibre or coconut brick. What's another name for them? Critter crumble. There's different names out there for these coconut fibre blocks. I usually get these from the garden store. They're cheaper. It's the same thing. So here in Australia, we go to Bunnings or Flower Power and get it here. This is used more for your, rainforest species such as your eastern water dragons. I guess your blue tongues can handle these without a drama. I've personally used it on my snakes at home, but I'm going to switch it over to another substrate that I used to use in the past. We'll get back to that in a moment. Another couple of substrates I will kind of add quickly is for our frogs. We use sphagnum moss as a substrate. It just helps clean the poo up. I might get a clip of that if I remember. If not, I do apologise. Another one we'll quickly add as well is eucalyptus mulch. Now, if I remember to get a footage of that as well, I'll put up on screen what it looks like. You get that again in a lot of your hardware stores or your gardening stores. As long as you air out your eucalyptus mulch first, because there's quite a strong smelling substrate, then it's fine to use on the majority of your rainforest species as well. Regarding to, my desert species of skinks, well, at least my shinglebacks and my snakes at home I'm going to, I use the aspen snake bedding. Now, it's not a bad substrate. I don't mind at all. It helps with the odor. It's a nice looking substrate. It helps brighten up the enclosure as well. And overall, it's pretty cheap and very available everywhere, I guess, for the most part. Those are the different substrates. Now to, the furniture side of it all. We'll start off with our arboreal species like dragons, carpet pythons, some of our geckos even, stuff like that. You can always get a little bendy vine from your local pet shop if they have them available. There's different sizes and thicknesses as well, so you can kind of bend them to any shape you want. I just grabbed this one from the pile and usually just bend it randomly, pop it in an enclosure. All our little dragons will sit on that underneath their heat light and they're pretty happy, as it kind of helps them with the advantage of, seeing over the enclosure. If they see food, it helps them see it better. So that's that. Otherwise, if you guys are up for it or you just want to save a bit of money here and there, you can always go to your local park. Now, I would say never go to a national park and get your branches, because that's where the wild animals are, and we need to preserve as much of the nature as you can. So if you have a neighbour that's cutting down a tree, or your local council is cutting down a tree in the park somewhere, ask them if they can take some branches. However, this right here is what I call a suitable, branch. Not the size, but the texture. So you want to find a branch that has texture where you can kind of catch your nails on, good thickness for your animal to sit on. If you are going to use it for, let's say, a bearded dragon or at least a species of lizard that will eat, or even frogs, crickets, or your feeder insects, don't get ones with holes in them, because that's where all the crickets are going to hide, and your poor little friend won't be able to get to his food, and the crickets are going to cause you problems. No harm getting a branch as well that's got different forks on it, like this one here. Gives the animal different places to sit in the enclosure. It can be up high, down lower, it can be over here, over there. Give your animal options, that's what I'm saying. Now, the one kind of, bit of furniture that I don't try to use these days, I only use it in probably 1 or 2 of my enclosures now, is rocks. The only reason why is because, yes, it looks nice in the enclosure. Yes, it kind of helps with heating. Like you have your heat light above, you put your rock on it, that'll absorb the heat, and your lizard or your snake, or whoever you're having in your enclosure, sits on the rock, keeps them happier, keeps them warmer. However, if you're not careful with rocks, especially with round ones, if your animal tries to dig underneath it and there's a bit of soil, underneath it, as your little friend starts to dig, that's going to start slowly tipping, If it removes too much soil, the rock is going to crush your lizard. So I kind of discourage using rocks in your enclosure. So see you later. Another thing people do use, I kind of forgot to grab it for the video, is hammocks. I would use it with larger animals. I don't use it for like little snakes or little dragons, just in case they get stuck in it. Saying that, your bigger animals can get stuck in it, but it's less likely unless they kind of force themselves through those little holes. Or your hammock is pretty old and it's started to fall apart, and animals being animals, they'll do something stupid. Next one I'll cover off is your fake plants. Now, I use fake plants in some of my enclosures, but not all of them. I use it mostly for my geckos and my snakes and frogs, if I ever own a frog. As well, turtles, if you get your aquarium plants. I suggest getting aquarium plants because they're more of a, I find that they're pretty, I guess, sturdier. A lot of these reptile plants made by these reptile companies, after a few months, they start breaking and falling apart, because if you have UVB in your enclosure, that will break down the plastic. So having that kind of doesn't help. And with the aquarium plants being designed for water, they should last a bit longer. However, I don't use fake plants on any of my skinks or my dragons that eat leafy greens, because I'll ask you this: if you put a plate of leafy greens in the enclosure and a bundle of fake plants, your lizard, or for example your bearded dragon, might mistake the fake greenery as food, eat the plastic, gets plastic poisoning, and it's a slow death from there. So I kind of discourage using fake plants for any of your leafy green eaters. However, with your snakes and your geckos and stuff that don't eat greens, I do encourage it to give the enclosure more life. It says your leafy green eaters, I will not use fake plants. Right, next up, hides. Obviously there's different size hides and whatnot out there, different brands, companies, different shapes, models. You get the picture. I find with hides, they're great for your geckos, your skinks, and your snakes. We don't really use them for dragons, because I do find most of our dragons here, or that I see, are quite confident little critters. I only use a hide for a dragon if they're very shy and skittish and they just need, I guess, that extra security in their enclosure. Another thing as well, having a nice thick branch, like I mentioned earlier, kind of helps with the visual barrier. So it's all about the visual barriers when it comes to reptiles, especially if you're going to have multiple together. That way there's less hassle. But saying that, there's another time, another video for keeping animals together, and I will do that soon. Don't know when, keep an eye out. But yeah, hides also for frogs. But yeah, otherwise, nah. Turtles don't need it because obviously it's in the water. Tortoises, I don't think they need it personally. They've got a big hard shell. Effectively, that's a big hide in itself if you own tortoises overseas. Dragons, I don't tend to use. Bearded dragons, I don't. Maybe like your central netted dragons, because they're a bit more of a shy species. I might chuck a hide in here and there if I own them. But yeah, hides, definitely for snakes, definitely for geckos, frogs even, stuff like that. And skinks, I know skinks love to hide. Another one is your bowls. Obviously there's different size bowls out there, different, I guess, depth to them. So as well, guys, I would just say, just be aware there are different models out there. I'll just use this as an example. But anyway, for you leafy green eaters, you always have to have a food bowl. It does help with preventing impactions, as well. It keeps the enclosure a bit tidier, and it's easier to gather at the end of the day or the next morning whenever you're collecting your bowls to put fresh food in there. Water bowl, guys, is essential for every animal in the world. It doesn't matter if it's a bearded dragon that lives out in the middle of Australia or a frog that lives in, the river. Every animal, plant on Earth needs access to clean, fresh water. Obviously, different amounts, so you might have a small, shallow dish for your bearded dragon, so it's not too much humidity for your desert species. But let's say for a water dragon or a frog, they need quite a large, I wouldn't say large, but a deep water bowl to soak in and at least help with the humidity in their enclosure. Obviously, different size bowls for different size animals, so just kind of make sure your bowls are suitable for the animal you have at home. But yeah, bowls, definitely essential for all animals. Last but not least, we're going on to backings now. There's kind of 3 different style backings out there that will cover off. First of all is 3D backings. Don't get me wrong, they are fantastic and look amazing. However, if your lizard poos on it, or your snake, let's say reptile, poos on it, you got to clean it. You got to take it all out, clean it. As well, if your animal gets behind these backings, good luck getting them out. I've had a hard time in the past personally, and I've kind of stopped using those really good 3D backings. But just because that reason, mostly the animal gets behind it, you never see the poor thing. And not gonna lie, they are pretty expensive. Another one is these foam backings. Yes, I use them to a degree on snakes and a couple of species of geckos. However, I kind of stopped using them on skinks and dragons, because if the lizards climb up the backing, they can actually chip away the foam. And lizards being lizards, they always like to experiment and taste different things in the enclosure. And yeah, you don't want to have your lizard full of foam because your lizard couldn't help itself, or you were too lazy to kind of keep an eye on that. So that's why I kind of tend to stay away from foam backings for the most part. However, you can never go wrong with a picture or a crayon backing or whatever. If you have a enclosure that the glass is obviously clear at the back, put your backing around the outside so your lizard or your snake, whatever is in the enclosure, does not get to your backing and pull it down and destroy it. As well, if it is one of these backing or enclosures that has kind of got the, I guess, already contact at the back there, there's nothing you can really do. I do prefer companies I guess if any of your companies are watching this, like Reptile 1, Reptile 2, all that, if you want, I guess, how can I say, being politely, a user's feedback, I do prefer clear sheets of glass at the back. That way I can always display pictures at the back of my enclosures, just to set the cages off. With all these contact ones, they look great for the depth, but I personally like to have the see-through, that way I can chuck this at the back of the enclosures. So yeah, that's just my feedback and overall my opinion on backings. Otherwise guys, I'll wrap up the video here, so I do thank you guys for watching to the very end. Any questions or remarks, let me know down in the comments below. I like to hear your feedback as well, your general comments. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.